Hey everybody, welcome back to Vegas Weekly for Saturday, February the 12th, 2022. Today is part 4 of our Vegas 101 series, and as the title would suggest, today we're going to be talking about gambling. Before we get started, I wanted to make a quick announcement. A week from Wednesday, so it'll be the 23rd of February, on Wednesday night will be our monthly live stream. And I'd like to incorporate a new feature into our monthly live stream, and that is an interview segment. And I'd really like to focus that interview on a newer Las Vegas-related YouTube channel. You know, anymore there are channels with tens of thousands of members, and there are scores of us who have anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000 subscribers and more. It's getting increasingly difficult to get noticed in the midst of all this. My friend Kevin Vegas Visual does a good job of noticing some of these smaller channels and giving them some attention. And I'd like to do the same. So if you have a smaller Vegas-related YouTube channel, you'd like to get a bigger audience, hit me up. At the email address you'll see below you, jrswift@vegastipstricks.com, or if I have you on Twitter or Facebook, you can message me there as well, I guess. But it might be easier to just use the email address. And I'd like to have you on the show. Maybe 15 or 30 minutes of you, if there's a couple, both of you, come on and talk about what your channel's about, what got you started, what your interest is in Las Vegas. Now, I will say there's a lot of overlap with YouTube channels, and there's some great general travel channels out there. Some of them I consider to be very good friends. I'm not really looking for people who have sort of a generalized travel channel that occasionally goes to Vegas, and I'm also not necessarily looking for sort of slot play channel. There's a lot more. There's some opportunities out there to get noticed as a slot channel. And again, even though I have some very good friends who have slot channels, that's not really what the focus of this show is. So again, if you have a Vegas-related channel, maybe just have a couple of hundred subscribers or even less, and you'd like a forum to let people know who you are, get introduced into the community, and have a chance to get noticed, hit me up at the email below, and we'll see if we can't give you a little bit of exposure. Growing up, casino gambling meant Las Vegas. There was simply no other place to go. And for much of my life, that was the case. Yeah, Atlantic City came online back in the late 70s, early 80s, and for a time seemed to steal some of Las Vegas's thunder. But over the last 25, 30 years, casino gambling has proliferated to the point where it would be easier for me to tell you all the places that don't have casinos than to try to list the scores upon scores of places that do. And in the most unlikely places. And once upon a time, many of these casinos were little more than 10 shacks or bingo parlors, but anymore, some of them rival the finest resorts on the Las Vegas Strip, in places as unusual as Iowa, Mississippi, or Oklahoma. So for most of you watching, you've grown up in a world where casinos were within a quick drive of your home. Las Vegas came to mean something else. It came to mean partying. It came to mean a place where, what happened there stayed there. It became associated with shopping and clubs and great restaurants. But gambling remains the lifeblood of Las Vegas. And gambling revenue is the sort of barometer of Las Vegas's success. The average visitor to Las Vegas gambles, at least a little bit. They say the average visitor probably spends $300 to $500 gambling. Of course, there are folks who may do nothing more than drop a 20 in the machine, and others who will spend tens of thousands of dollars chasing a dream. And while no doubt there are some great stories out there of people that went to Las Vegas and made a fortune, there are so many more stories of people who went to Las Vegas with a fortune and came home broke. So what we're going to try to do today is talk a little bit about the games in Las Vegas, which ones are the best choices and best choices for you, and how to avoid going home with your tail between your legs. Walking into a casino for the first time can be a little overwhelming, all the bright lights and the noise everywhere, and seems like there's an endless variety of different machines and games that are calling out to you. Well, we're going to very briefly cover some of the different games that you can find in the casinos in Las Vegas, and then we'll come back and we'll offer some specific tips about some of those games and about gaming, as they like to call it, in general. There's still some kind of old-fashioned games that you can find around Las Vegas, not typically much on the Strip, but a game like Bingo, which is all like modern and computerized now. It's not just these little daubers so much anymore. Keno, which has a terrible return, but can be a fun way to just hang out for a few hours and get some free drinks and have a chance to win some big money without investing a whole lot. If you're a big sports fan and you happen to be visiting during March Madness or football season, or really any time that your favorite sport is being played, you can place wagers and then just kind of hang out and watch the games. It'd be a great way to have some skin in the game, so to speak, and again, not put a whole lot of money at risk. Until recently, Las Vegas was the only place you could bet on sports legally, and for some people, that'll be a great choice. And you know, some of the casinos also have race betting, so you can bet on horses or even dogs in some cases if that's your thing. But most games in the casino can be divided into one of two categories, either the table games or the machines. The table games can be a little intimidating if you don't know what's going on. Sure, most of us have probably played blackjack, at least with our friends in some, informal context. And games like roulette or craps are still pretty familiar to us. Yeah, there's still plenty of live poker opportunities in Las Vegas. That can be a little scary, but most of us have seen it played on TV, and so if it's something you'd like to try, it's certainly an opportunity to do that. There are other games maybe not so well known in the casino that can be a decent choice for you, whether it be Baccarat, Pai Gow Poker, and there are a lot of sort of strange games that casinos cook up over time that can best be described as sort of circus games. And they typically have some weird rules, exotic wagers, and potential big jackpots. We'll tell you why you might want to avoid those here in just a few minutes. But the most prevalent form of gambling anywhere at the casino is all of the machines. And they range from those old-fashioned one-armed bandits, the three-reel slot machines that your parents probably played a generation ago. But there's so much more. And you can't help but notice the enormous amount of money that's been invested in some of these interactive games. You'll see some of your favorite TV shows, movies, musical performers, game shows are all incorporated into some of these massive interactive slot machines, many of whom have these elaborate bonus rounds that offer the potential, at least, of winning a huge jackpot on a pretty small investment. Very popular amongst locals and sort of more in-the-know gamblers are the video poker machines, which give you about as good a chance as any to more or less break even. But, you also have like video Keno, and increasingly they have sort of video versions of table games like craps or blackjack. So if you're a little intimidated by the social element of playing those games, you can kind of learn how they work a little bit by playing on the machines. So what game should you play? Well, regardless of what game you play, you should always make sure you're using your Players Club card. You can get one of them in any casino. Most of the hotels on the Strip are either affiliated with Caesars Rewards or MGM Rewards. Make sure you're using that card when you play a machine. If you're wagering at one of the tables, make sure you give it to the dealer. That way they can track the amount of money that you're wagering. They don't care whether you win or lose. They care about the sort of volume of bets that you're giving them access to. So if you set at a machine all day, for example, and bet like $1 every 10 seconds, and broke even. You might think to yourself, wow, that was kind of pointless. But if you had your card in the machine, you would have run thousands upon thousands of dollars through that machine. And the casino assumes that it's going to win a certain percentage of that. And of what it assumes it will win, it's willing to rebate some of it back in the form of what you hear called comps. When people say they get free rooms or free food or free play, that's what they're talking about. It's particularly important if you're planning to return to Vegas at some point, because even a modest amount of play that's recorded on these cards can get you a really good deal on a hotel room, and sometimes when it's slow, even a free room. So make sure you use the card. It's only going to benefit you. It's not some sort of sinister plot against you. If you're a particularly sociable person, then you may want to consider playing the table games. Typically, table games have a little bit better return to the player, though there are some exceptions I'll mention really briefly. Blackjack, again, a game a lot of people know, tends to be pretty cerebral. It's a pretty simple game to follow. It's a pretty simple game to learn the rules and the strategy. If you want the wildest game in the casino, craps is the way to go. If you hear hooping and hollering in a casino, it's almost always from a craps table. Roulette, again, a little more sedate, but kind of in the middle as far as how enthusiastic people are about it. And, you know, there's all these unusual games. If there's a particular casino game you've played before, you'll almost certainly be able to find it in Las Vegas. If you're interested in playing a game, there's almost, in every case, there's going to be tutorials online on YouTube that you can find that'll show you how to play the game, show you sort of the rules, show you sort of the informal rules of how to conduct yourself when you're playing the game, what you should and shouldn't do to sort of fit in with the other players. Some casinos still offer classes also that will teach you how to play the game and give you an opportunity to actually try it out in the casino without risking any money. Most cases, table games offer a better return to the player. On the other hand, you'll probably have to wager at least $10 a hand or a spin anymore. It's very hard to find a table minimum lower than that, particularly on the Strip. Some of the table games also have instituted these sort of exotic bets to try to compete with the slot machines, and they'll have sometimes really huge jackpots. It can be very tempting when you're playing to play these side bets, because if they do happen to come in, you could win a significant amount of money. In general, they're not a good idea. You know, when you're playing blackjack, you kind of just want to bet the hand. When you're playing craps, it's best to just play the pass line and maybe take odds. When you're playing roulette, it's best to just bet sort of red or black. Those are your best returns. You know, you're only going to basically get your money and double it. So it's not as exciting to some people, but you're going to, in the long run, be able to play significantly longer if you avoid those side bets. If, like me, you prefer to do your wagering solo style, you'll have no problem finding a machine to set at that will gladly take your money and provide you an opportunity, in some cases, to win big. Video poker is your best bet, honestly, if you don't mind learning the strategy, and if having to sit and think a little bit while you're playing doesn't detract from your gambling experience. You can go on YouTube, you can Google it. There's a number of different video poker games, so each of them has a different strategy. And some of the strategy gets pretty elaborate, but it's not that hard to learn the basics. And if you do, you can easily find machines that return between 95 and 98%, and sometimes even better than that. If you're playing slots, the odds are that the machine is going to take 10% of your wagers. And you may think you're only betting 50 cents a spin, but you're betting 50 cents over and over and over again. You know, it's very easy to reach that $10 number that you would have bet when you were sitting at a table, sitting at a machine, because there's nothing to stop you from just hitting that button again and again and again. So in the long run, you will lose at slots. And generally, you probably want to avoid those slots with the big flashing lights and the big jackpots. You know, if you want to sit down and play them, it's fine, but, you know, give it a shot. I wouldn't try to sit there all day long, because those machines tend to have the biggest returns to the casino. and they will quickly take your money unless you're very, very fortunate. Sometimes it's best to look for the sort of old school slots with very low jackpots because they're typically going to hit more often. You know, if you see a machine that says, hey, win a car for a nickel, guess what? It's going to take a lot of nickels before it's going to give you a car. On the other hand, if you see a machine with a jackpot of $400, $500, $600, $800, that probably hits a little more frequently, so you may have a better chance. And again, you can try Video Keno. I love that. Keno Nation. Which is really simple. You just pick some numbers and see what happens. In the long run, you're going to lose on all of these machines. So the most important thing about gambling is having a budget and sticking to it. You know, knowing what you can afford to lose. Gambling when you go to Las Vegas, or anywhere for that matter, needs to be considered a form of entertainment. It's not an investment. We do live in a world of futures trading and cryptocurrency, and it's very easy to think that the wagers you make in a casino are a little different than the wagers you make on the market. But yeah, they're still a little bit different. So make sure that you can afford what you're wagering. If you win a little bit, hey, make sure you take home some profit. Don't give it all back. You may think you're playing with the casino's money, but once you win it, it's yours. All right, I hope our segment on gambling has been helpful to you. If you like, we can go into a little more detail on some of the games and some of the strategies in a later episode. Hit me up in the comments if that's something you'd be interested in. We can talk more about comps. We've done that on a few occasions on the show and gotten a pretty good response from that as well. So only 2 more episodes in Vegas 101. You won't want to miss next week's, as we'll clue you in on even more important Vegas information for the first-time visitor. Join us again on Wednesday. If you want a little bit of something different on the Wednesday show, make sure that you hit that like, subscribe, and comment if you will. And we will see you again next week with another episode of Vegas Weekly. And until then, I hope that you have a great, lucky, and healthy week. See you all again real soon. Bye-bye.